The evening sky began to turn orange as Yin stepped into her neighbor's house, carrying a stack of books and a frustrated expression. "Jungkook," she muttered as she opened the door, which was always left unlocked. This house felt like her second home. From the living room, footsteps echoed before a casually dressed young man with slightly messy hair appeared. "Accounting again?" Jungkook raised an eyebrow, half laughing. Yin nodded quickly. "I seriously don't get why these numbers won't cooperate. I studied all night." Jungkook chuckled softly. "Come here. Sit down. Let's look at it together." They sat in the living room, and Jungkook began patiently explaining the basic concepts of journals and trial balances, his finger pointing at the numbers that made Yin's head spin. But Yin wasn't entirely focused on the books. She kept stealing glances at Jungkook's face as he explained, watching the way his eyes moved as he read, and the smile that appeared whenever he managed to help her understand something. Her heart felt strange, warm yet aching. She knew this wasn't just any feeling. She liked Jungkook, more than just a next-door neighbor. But Jungkook, as always, treated her like a little sister. Even when Yin tried to hide her racing heart, Jungkook simply ruffled her hair and said, "You're actually smart when you focus. But still, like a kid, can't concentrate, always want to play around." Yin gave a nervous laugh. Her heart sank a little. A kid, again with that. After the study session ended, Jungkook stretched and stood up. "It's getting dark. You should head home. Your mom will be looking for you." Yin nodded quietly and began packing up her books, but before she could leave, she looked at Jungkook's back as he cleaned the table. "Jungkook," she called softly. Jungkook turned around. Have you ever liked a girl?" The question made him pause. He glanced at her briefly before returning his gaze to the books. "Right now, I'm not thinking about that. I'm focusing on my master's degree," he answered calmly without hesitation. Yin only nodded slowly. There was a slight sense of relief, knowing that Jungkook's heart wasn't taken by anyone yet. But then Jungkook gave her a suspicious look. "Wait a minute, don't tell me you're the one crushing on a guy? No wonder you can't focus when studying." "Oh, stop." Yin shook her head quickly, cheeks turning red. "No, I'm just tired of all the assignments." Jungkook shook his head and gently ruffled her hair again. "All right, listen to me. Study hard. You're still young. Your future's still long. Don't get caught up in love stuff too soon." Yin stayed quiet. She wanted so badly to say that the guy she liked was standing right there, giving her life advice like a big brother. But all she could do was glance at him briefly before lowering her gaze. Okay," she mumbled finally. She walked away with a forced smile, while her feelings stayed in that room, with a small hope that maybe one day, Jungkook would see her not as a child, but as a woman. 2 years later. Time flew by. Without realizing it, Yin was now a second-year business major. That afternoon in the classroom, she sat beside her friend Yuju. They were chatting casually while waiting for the new replacement lecturer who was said to be starting their management class today. "A senior said the previous lecturer moved out of town, right?" Yuju asked while twirling her pen. "Yeah," Yin replied softly. "I actually like their teaching style. Hopefully the new lecturer isn't too stiff." Just as those words left her mouth, footsteps echoed from the door. The once noisy classroom slowly fell silent. All eyes turned to the front, including Yin's and Yuju's. And when the door opened, time seemed to stop for Yin. A tall man, dressed in a dark blazer, walked in with an air of authority. His hair was neatly swept back, and his face, too familiar to forget. Yin's heart pounded. It was Jungkook, her neighbor, whom she hadn't seen often since he moved into his own apartment when he began his master's program. That's why they had rarely met lately. She still couldn't believe it. The man she had secretly loved for years was now standing at the front of the class as her new lecturer. Their eyes met for a brief moment, just a second, but enough to make her chest tighten. No smile, no nod, as if Yin was just another student in the crowd. Meanwhile, hushed whispers started rising from the surrounding female students. "No way, he's so young. He's so handsome, like an idol." "I suddenly feel excited about management class." Yuju nudged Yin's arm with a quiet laugh. "I think we've got ourselves a new campus heartthrob. Did you see the way he walked? So cool." But Yin didn't respond. Her eyes were still fixed on Jungkook from the middle row. Meanwhile, Jungkook calmly opened his laptop and looked out over the class. His voice was firm and formal. "Good afternoon. My name is Jungkook. Starting today, I'll be your lecturer for this management course. I hope we can work well together." No jokes, no words that hinted he recognized anyone in the room. And somehow, That stung Yin a little. What were you expecting, Yin? Jungkook is here as a professor, not your neighbor, she told herself, trying to push down the disappointment. The first class with Jungkook turned out to be nothing like what most students imagine. While many thought a young lecturer would be easygoing and approachable, that illusion was shattered in less than 10 minutes. Alright, we'll begin with a short quiz, Jungkook announced as he projected 10 questions onto the screen. These are based on topics from previous chapters. I want to assess your basic understanding. Some students groaned quietly, but no one dared to complain aloud. Yuju bent over her desk, half panicking. Oh my god, we haven't even had a proper intro and he's already giving a quiz? Yin sat tensely. Even though she had known Jungkook personally for years, he now felt like a completely different person. The warm face that used to patiently teach her accounting now looked stern and unapproachable. His speech was fast, concise, and full of pressure. Kim Ji-hoon, Jungkook called, scanning the class roster. What's your answer for question number 2? A male student sitting on the right side stammered. I'm not really sure, sir. I don't need your certainty. I need your answer, Jungkook replied flatly. If you can't answer, I'll assume you didn't study. The room instantly went silent. Yuju glanced at Yin again, eyes wide. This is terrifying. Since then, Jungkook's reputation as a young lecturer has changed drastically. On campus, he was quickly known as Professor Jeon, the handsome but strict lecturer who could give sudden quizzes, randomly throw questions at students, and demand active participation in every session. Not only that, he was also known for being stingy with grades. Getting an A in his class was no easy feat. Many students started calling his class a war zone, though most still attended, because, well, his looks were undeniable. On the other hand, Yin began to feel uncomfortable. Every time she made eye contact with Jungkook in class, she had to pretend everything was normal. Their relationship was clearly no longer as warm as it used to be, and what hurt the most, Jungkook acted completely professional, as if they had never known each other at all. Until one night, Yin sat on the sofa, looking at her parents, who stared back at her with serious expressions. What is it, Dad, Mom? She asked softly. Her father, who now spent most of his time resting due to his declining health, sat back in his chair, wrapped in a thick blanket. His eyes held a deep meaning as he looked at Yin. Yin, he began in a hoarse voice, I want to talk about something important. You might be shocked, but please hear us out first. Yin straightened up, anxiety rising. Okay, Dad, I'm listening. Her mother held her father's hand and continued in a gentle tone. Your dad's health is getting worse, dear. We know you're grown up and can make your own decisions, but as parents, we have one last hope before our time runs out. Yin held her breath. The room suddenly felt heavy. Her father continued in a soft but firm voice. We want you to marry someone we trust, and that person is Jungkook. Yin's eyes widened. What? He's a man we've known for a long time, her mother said. We believe he's not only responsible, but sincere too. We know you two were close before, and he used to care deeply about you. And we believe he's the only person we can entrust you to. Yin fell silent. Her heart trembled. Jungkook, the man she had silently loved all this time. The man who was now her lecturer. This was all too fast, too surreal. But, Yin whispered, would Jungkook even agree to this? Her father coughed lightly before replying. We already spoke to him a few days ago. Yin's eyes widened, and he agreed. At that moment, Yin felt like her heart stopped beating. She stared at her parents, trying to confirm she hadn't misheard. But there were no jokes that night, no teasing smiles, only the serious gaze of two parents who loved her with all their hearts. He said, if you're okay with it, he's willing, her mother added gently. Yin remained frozen. Jungkook's face flashed through her mind, the strict lecturer who had now become a full-grown man. The same man she thought only saw her as a little girl. And now, he had agreed to this arranged marriage? Yin, this isn't forced, her father said. If you're not ready, we'll understand. But I just want to see you marry someone we can trust, before. Don't say that, Dad, Yin cut in quickly, her eyes starting to tear up. Her father gave a faint smile. I'm not asking for much. I just want peace of mind, knowing you're being taken care of by someone good. Yin looked down. Her heart was in turmoil, caught between confusion, fear, and a quiet hope beginning to grow. But after thinking through everything, Yin finally agreed to the marriage. Once the agreement was made, the wedding between Yin and Jungkook took place. The ceremony was held privately in a hotel, attended only by close friends and family. Yin and Jungkook also agreed to keep their relationship a secret on campus until Yin graduated, in order to avoid gossip and ensure both their comfort. That night, after their simple wedding reception had ended, Jungkook took Yin straight to his apartment, which was now also their home. Jungkook removed his suit, then turned to Yin, who stood quietly near the door. "Do you want to shower first?" he asked gently. Yin nodded softly. "Okay." They took turns showering. Afterward, Yin wore a simple set of pajamas and stood by the window, head lowered, watching the night scenery lit by the city lights. Her heart was full of questions. Did Jungkook still see her as the little girl from the neighborhood? Had he truly accepted this marriage? And would anything change tonight? Jungkook came out of the bathroom not long after, wearing a plain t-shirt and lounge pants. His face looked calm, and when he saw Yin by the window, he walked up to her and gently touched her head. "Tired?" he asked, softly brushing her hair. Yin nodded, without turning to look. That touch made her chest feel tight, warm, and only added to the whirlwind in her mind. They stood side by side in silence, both gazing at the cityscape. Neither made a move to speak further, let alone touch. Everything felt careful, too careful. Until finally, Yin couldn't hold it in any longer. "Jungkook," she called softly. Jungkook turned to her. Yin took a deep breath and asked in a low voice, "Do you still see me as a little girl?" Jungkook frowned slightly. His expression was confused, surprised by the question. "What do you mean?" But before Jungkook could finish his sentence, Yin quickly turned her face away. "Never mind. You don't have to answer. I was just asking." Silence returned. Then, slowly, Jungkook stepped closer. He pulled Yin into a hug, wrapping her tightly from behind. It was warm, comforting. Yin froze in place. "I've never seen you as a little girl anymore, Yin," Jungkook said in a low voice near her ear. "Especially now. You're my wife." Yin's heart pounded at those words. Her cheeks flushed. Her body trembled lightly in his arms. The hug lingered long enough to send her heartbeat spiraling. She could feel Jungkook's breath warm against her ear. She bit her lip, trying to calm her racing thoughts, but it was impossible. She slowly turned around to face him, eyes locking with his up close. "Are you sure about what you just said?" Yin asked again. She wanted to see the sincerity in his eyes. Jungkook gave her a small smile. "Of course, I know what I'm saying." "Then, prove it," Yin whispered, her gaze steady. Jungkook looked slightly surprised at her boldness, but he didn't back away. Instead, he lifted his hand to gently touch her cheek. "Are you sure?" he asked softly, giving her the chance to pull away if she wasn't ready. But Yin nodded. "I know this isn't a normal marriage, but I want to know how you really feel. I want to know if you truly accept me, not just because of an arranged marriage." Jungkook's gaze softened. He leaned forward, resting his forehead against hers. "I won't touch you if you're just trying to prove something," he whispered. "But if you want me, because you want me as your husband, not just your professor or neighbor, then I'm here. Completely. I'm yours." Yin looked into his eyes, and this time, there was no more hesitation in her heart. "I want you, Jungkook, as my husband." That was the moment everything changed. Jungkook leaned down and kissed her slowly, gently, as if making sure not to hurt her physically or emotionally. His touch wasn't rushed, but patient, tender. One arm wrapped around her waist, and the other cradled the back of her neck. And in that warm embrace, Yin knew she no longer loved Jungkook in silence. Now, she loved him completely. Their marriage was still a secret. Yin kept it tightly guarded because she wanted peace on campus. Things would get complicated if her friends found out that she was the wife of their handsome yet strict professor. Though deep down, Yin often felt annoyed seeing how admired her husband was by beautiful female students. What mattered most to her was that Jungkook responded appropriately, just professionally, nothing more. That's how it should be. But a few days later, that day, the campus was once again buzzing. The classroom was filled with chatter about one thing, or more precisely, one person. "Did you hear? They say there's a new professor, a woman, and she's super beautiful. She's assigned to Class B, not ours." The chatter grew louder when a tall woman with long, wavy hair walked past the hallway. She was impeccably dressed, tall and elegant, and her face was breathtakingly beautiful. Her presence was commanding, even though she was just passing by. As she walked past Yin's classroom, many students instinctively leaned out of their seats, peeking through the glass door, including Yin and Yuju. "Oh my god, she's that beautiful," Yuju whispered in disbelief. "She seriously looks like a model." Yin looked as well. Her eyes instantly caught sight of the woman, now standing face to face with Jungkook, and that was when something stirred in her chest. Jungkook had just arrived, seemingly about to enter the class, but he stopped when he saw the beautiful professor. They exchanged a few words, shared a soft laugh, and Jungkook even nodded with a wide smile, a smile he had never shown to any student. Their interaction looked familiar, as if they had known each other for a long time. And unfortunately, they were standing right in front of Yin's classroom door. Everyone inside could witness the whole interaction, clear as day. "Hey, look at that," one female student whispered. "They know each other? Wow, they'd make such a perfect match. Smart, good-looking, mature. Totally a couple," another chimed in, voice low but certain. Those words made Yin's heart drop. She looked down, pretending to review her notes, but in truth, she was trying to calm the storm inside her. Her hands clenched on top of the desk. "It's just a normal conversation. Maybe they know each other as fellow lecturers," she told herself, but the image of Jungkook smiling at that woman kept replaying in her mind. Jungkook finally stepped inside. The warmth on his face vanished in an instant. He was back to his cold, firm self. No more smiles. No trace of the warmth he had shown moments ago. "Good afternoon," he greeted curtly. "Good afternoon, sir," the students replied in unison. Open to page 45. Today we're discussing a case study, and I need everyone to participate. Yin tried to focus, scribbling in her notebook while suppressing the turmoil in her heart, but she couldn't deny it. Her mind was wandering, and somehow, this time it felt different. There was a creeping sense of unease, a subtle fear, as if something was threatening her place beside Jungkook. That night, the atmosphere in the apartment was calm. The bedroom light glowed dimly, giving a warm nuance amidst the quiet city night. Jungkook sat on the sofa, his laptop resting on his lap, fingers busily typing as he occasionally glanced at the screen with full focus. Yin sat at the other end of the same sofa, hugging a small pillow while stealing glances at her husband. The curiosity that had been piling up since the afternoon was now becoming harder to suppress. The image of Jungkook's warm interaction with the beautiful professor kept replaying in her mind, and although a part of her wanted to wait for the right time, another part was demanding clarity tonight. Hesitantly, Yin finally spoke up. "Jungkook." Jungkook responded briefly, eyes still fixed on his screen. Yin bit her lower lip. "That woman this afternoon, on campus, the new professor, do you know her?" Jungkook paused his typing for a moment, then turned to Yin. "Oh, Hannah?" he said casually. "She was my friend back in college." Yin waited for further explanation, but after saying that, Jungkook returned his gaze to the laptop and continued working as if nothing more needed to be said. "That's it?" Yin stared at her husband intently. There was still so much she wanted to know. College friend? Were they close? Did he ever like her? Do they still keep in touch? But seeing Jungkook's serious expression and how immersed he was in his work, Yin held back from asking more. She looked away, trying to divert her thoughts as well. "She's really beautiful," Yin muttered softly, almost like talking to herself. Jungkook responded vaguely, not really hearing. Yin hugged the pillow tighter, letting out a long breath. "Maybe it's nothing. After all, if there's anything I need to know, Jungkook would tell me, right?" She tried to smile a little, convincing herself, then quietly looked back at her husband, hoping the jealousy and unease in her heart would slowly fade. But deep inside, Yin knew, if Professor Hannah continued to appear around them, the unanswered feelings she had tonight might demand answers again someday. A few days later. That morning, Yin didn't have any classes scheduled. She decided to come a little later than usual, taking her time to get ready more leisurely. But all the calmness she felt since waking up vanished the moment her car entered the campus parking lot. She hadn't even turned off the engine yet when her eyes landed on a very familiar figure, Jungkook, her husband, walking side by side with a woman, not just any woman, Professor Hannah. They were walking together toward Jungkook's car, chatting comfortably. Yin stared in disbelief. There were no excessive smiles, true, but the way Jungkook tilted his head slightly when Hannah spoke, the way he opened the car door for her, it was more than enough to make Yin's chest tighten. Moments later, both of them got into the car, and soon after, Jungkook's car pulled out of the parking lot, leaving Yin frozen behind the wheel, her eyes trailing the vehicle until it disappeared. She bit her lip, trying to calm her now turbulent heart. She knew Jungkook had an early morning lecture in another class today, but giving another woman a ride, in his car, with that kind of attention? So this is what just an old college friend looks like. Her thoughts began to stir with irritation and jealousy. Jungkook, who was usually strict and never gave anyone special attention, was now suddenly caring? Yin closed her eyes briefly, trying to breathe deeply, but the burning sensation in her chest wouldn't go away. Her hands gripped the steering wheel tightly, and for the first time since their marriage, Yin felt a discomfort she couldn't ignore. Something inside her told her that their relationship was being tested. That night, the bedroom felt much quieter than usual. There was no light-hearted talk before bed, no soft laughter from Yin as Jungkook shared funny stories about his students. There was only silence and tension. Since she got home in the afternoon, Yin had been quiet and sullen. And when Jungkook arrived about an hour later, there was no warm greeting like usual. Yin simply sat at the edge of the bed, playing with the edge of the blanket, as if holding back something heavy in her chest. Jungkook, who was changing out of his clothes, glanced at his wife several times. He knew something was wrong. Yin was never like this. She wasn't the type to bottle things up or give someone the silent treatment, especially not to him. Finally, Jungkook approached and gently sat beside her. "What's wrong?" he asked quietly, carefully. Yin remained silent. No response, not even a glance. "Yin." Jungkook tried again, his voice softer. His hand gently touched her shoulder, but Yin brushed it off, still in silence. Jungkook sighed, watching her face, which clearly held back something deep. "If something's bothering you, please just say it. I don't like it when we keep things from each other." Yin finally turned her head, her face slightly red from all the emotions she'd been holding in since earlier that day. "You want to know? Fine. Let me ask you one thing," she said, her voice rising. "Where have you been today?" Jungkook frowned. "Me? I was teaching all morning. Class A until 10, then Class C until the afternoon. But during lunch break, I stepped out, took Hannah somewhere." "Huh?" Yin scoffed, narrowing her eyes. "So you admit it now?" Jungkook tilted his head, confused. "Admit? What do you mean?" Yin gave him a sharp look. "Why did you take her? Since when do you care so much about another woman? Is Hannah special to you?" Jungkook paused, trying to stay calm. He was starting to realize this wasn't just anger, this was jealousy. And strangely, a part of him was glad Yin cared this much. It showed she was emotionally invested. But now wasn't the time to feel glad. "Hannah, she's pregnant," Jungkook began, but Yin cut him off. "She's pregnant, and you're the one fussing over her? How nice of you. Like the perfect standby husband." Yin snapped, her eyes now red with disappointment. "Yin, please listen to me," Jungkook said seriously. But Yin stood from the bed, turning her back on him. "Did you used to have feelings for her? Is that why you married me? Because she didn't return your love?" Jungkook stood up too, gently grabbing her arm. "I never had feelings for her. I never liked any girl at my university." Yin. She fell silent, but didn't brush off his hand anymore. Jungkook continued in a softer voice. "Hannah's pregnant. This afternoon, she felt dizzy and had some abdominal pain. And she's no one special. She's Minju's wife. Minju, my close friend from college. The three of us, Hannah, Minju, and I, were close. In fact, there were 2 other close friends in our group. We used to hang out all the time during college." He let out a slow sigh. "Minju called me earlier. He's in Bizin right now on business." Jungkook's phone vibrated just as he finished checking his students' assignments. The name Minju flashed on the screen. "Hello? Jungkook, sorry. Can you help for a moment? Hannah's feeling really dizzy. She said her stomach feels a bit painful. I'm in Bizin right now." Jungkook frowned. "So, what do you need me to do?" The doctor previously said Hannah's pregnancy is a bit delicate. If she starts feeling pain in her stomach, she needs to go to the hospital immediately. I already asked my sister to pick her up from campus, but there was an accident about 2 kilometers from campus, and the road is closed. She has to take a long detour. Hannah is already waiting downstairs and tried to order a taxi, but because the road is partially closed, the taxi won't arrive for another 30 minutes. I'm really worried because she's already getting dizzy. Jungkook, can I ask you a favor? Please take Hannah to meet my sister. She'll take her straight to the hospital from there. Alright, I'll take her to meet your sister. Jungkook looked into his wife's eyes, and when we got there, the road really was closed because of the accident. Maybe you didn't know because we don't usually go that way when heading home. And once we got to the meeting point, Minju's sister was already waiting, and she immediately took Hannah to the hospital. I'm not the type who gets close to just any woman, Yin. You know that. But today I was just helping a friend in need. I was wrong for not telling you sooner, but I didn't expect you to misunderstand like this. Yin finally turned to him slowly. Her expression was much calmer now, though traces of frustration still lingered. You know, I'm not mad because you helped her. I'm mad because you didn't tell me. I'm mad because I had to find out on my own. It felt like I caught you cheating on me. Her words made Jungkook's chest tighten. He immediately pulled Yin into a tight embrace. Yin, I would never cheat on you. I'm sorry. I should have told you earlier. Yin closed her eyes in his arms, slowly letting her disappointment melt away in his warm embrace. So, are you still mad at me? I'm sorry, baby. I don't want you to give me the silent treatment again, said Jungkook as he gently caressed Yin's head, still holding her in his arms. Yin shook her head. No, I'm not mad anymore, but promise me, next time, you have to be more honest with me. I don't want us to have another misunderstanding. Okay, my love, I promise. It was a warm Sunday afternoon. Jungkook and Yin decided to spend time together by grocery shopping at a nearby supermarket. Nothing was particularly planned, just a simple activity between husband and wife, enjoying the rhythm of their new life. But something unexpected happened as they were picking out vegetables. From the opposite direction, a married couple was pushing a shopping cart, and one of them immediately recognized Jungkook. Hey, Jungkook, Minju greeted enthusiastically. Jungkook turned and smiled. Minju, what a coincidence. Minju walked over with his cart, Hannah smiling warmly beside him. Finally, we meet again. I'm really sorry I haven't had the chance to visit. And thank you really. Thanks so much for helping Hannah that day. It's nothing, Jungkook replied calmly. We're friends. It's only right to help one another. Yin, standing beside Jungkook, smiled politely. Her eyes briefly met Hannah's. They exchanged small, respectful nods before standing in a short silence, until Minju broke it again. Oh, so this is the girl next door you've been after all this time, Jungkook? He teased with a chuckle. Yin furrowed her brows in confusion, glancing at her husband, who now looked slightly flustered. Huh? Yin could only let out a confused sound, unsure whether to laugh or ask further. Minju laughed even harder. Sorry, I couldn't make it to your wedding back then. I was out of town. But I still remember how back in college, when we used to hang out, Hannah or the others would always ask, why doesn't Jungkook ever have a crush on anyone? So many girls like him. Hannah smiled and nodded. Yeah, we were all curious back then. Minju continued, and Jungkook always gave the same answer. I'm waiting for someone to grow up. At the time, we thought he was joking, but turns out, he was serious. Yin looked even more confused, now fully turning to face Jungkook. Wait, who did you mean? Jungkook sighed quietly, turning his gaze to the vegetable rack. Minju looked at Yin with a knowing smile. You, Yin, he's liked you for a long time. He said he'd confess his feelings once you were grown and finished college, but unexpectedly, he married you even earlier than planned. Yin stood frozen. Her heart thumped loudly in her chest. She looked at her husband, who still said nothing and pretended to be busy picking out tomatoes. Jungkook, she called softly. Jungkook finally turned, his cheeks slightly red. I didn't want you to find out from someone else, but yeah, it's true. Yin let out a small laugh, a mix of surprise and emotion. So, all this time? Jungkook nodded slowly. Yeah, it's been like that all along. Minju and Hannah exchanged glances and smiled, sensing it was time to leave. Alright, we'll get back to shopping. It was nice running into you both, Hannah said, waving goodbye. After they left, Yin and Jungkook were still standing in the same spot. Why didn't you ever tell me? Yin finally whispered. Jungkook looked at her gently. Because you were still too young back then. I didn't want to distract you from your studies. Yin bit her lip, then smiled softly. So I was your target since I was little, huh? Jungkook shrugged, smiling too. Yeah, something like that. It's been a long time, he said, holding back a laugh. Yin just smiled and shook her head, realizing that life is full of mysteries, many of which are still waiting to be uncovered.